Hi everyone. So I was just watching one of Kat Black's videos again. This one was about her natural hair and how recently when she allowed her hair to go natural, she's been getting a lot more attention from white people about her hair. And she's been getting a lot of questions that she believes are really personal and oftentimes rude, which I totally understand. She's been getting people who are asking her like, is her hair real? Who, without asking her, just go ahead and touch it to feel it. Um, and I think that this is a complaint that a lot of people within the Black community have. I've heard it a lot from them, and it's a very reasonable complaint. And it got me thinking about why white people, because I've been there too, why we don't necessarily know how to navigate that kind of situation, or like why we can't figure out how to compliment a Black person's hair without being insensitive or ignorant about it. And I mean, the only conclusion that I can really come to is that we don't know. And it brought up a really interesting discussion in my head that I had recently listened to Rita Dove, who is a Black poet. She had discussed this same idea, really, and it'll make sense as I talk more about it. But she was talking about how she writes a lot of her poetry about when she's younger, but that sometimes it's difficult because in a lot of ways she's writing for a white audience, because in our culture that is what so much of our media, so much of our literature, so much of everything is advertised for, because that is the only demographic that so many different companies really care about, unfortunately. And so she found herself, when she was trying to write about things about her childhood, and she lived, like I said, a Black childhood with experiences that are specific to Black culture and Black heritage. She would find herself censoring herself. Um, for example, I think that she said that she wanted to talk about, or to write a poem about, something that involved her mother doing her hair. And as she was writing about it, she realized, well, she had to kind of go through and explain things, explain what certain items involved in the carrying of the hair were, what certain styles were, in ways that white people don't have to do within our own media. Um, Everyone knows how a white woman styles her hair. Everyone knows, about curling wands and rollers and straighteners and things like that. It's common knowledge to us. Not only have we all grown up with it, but we've also had it reinforced by the media and the things that we watch and we read. Um, so yeah, and it's interesting to me. The reason why I kind of wanted to talk about this, even though I don't really have a I guess any experience with what Kat Black is talking about here. Nothing personal. Where I'm obviously not a Black person or a Black woman who has natural hair, who experiences this from people, but I think it shows how, in a very small way, how necessary representation is in our media. Um, and I can see a lot of white people being offended by a Black person saying, well, please don't touch my hair, or you shouldn't ask questions like that, it's too personal, or whatever. I can see a lot of white people getting offended by that, because they really are just trying to compliment someone. But it's really our own fault, because we've created these spaces that are actively against the allowance of Black people or of other POC to be involved. We're creating this experience that is whitewashed, that stops us from learning about other cultures and other people, and of understanding the people that we interact with on a level that is very basic. Like how someone does their hair is very basic. Like I just, like, how much more do we not know about like the soul of these people, of like their everyday experiences and like what they're really going through. Like this is just one thing. This is just hair. But we know so little about the experience of being a black person beyond hair. I mean, hair is just cosmetic, but what about the experience that people have with our government, that they have with the education system? You know, I mean, I'm someone who tries to learn as much as I can. That's my cat back there, by the way. But yeah, I'm someone who tries to learn as much as they can. But as a white person, as a man, as so many things that offer me privilege, you know, my ability to know this stuff is limited. And so many white people out there don't have that drive to learn. You know, they don't read books. They don't ask questions. They don't actively search out this information. And so they're really blind when it comes to it. And so, I mean, the hair thing is just like one thing. But it's almost like what you can see from the surface, because what lies underneath all of that, all of the cosmetic ignorance that we have about the way that black people do their hair, there's even more ignorance there about the way that black people live, you know, within a society, within a culture that is actively hateful towards them. And so we need this. And like another thing is, sorry, I didn't finish my last thought, but another thing is, like, I was just going back to in my head to what Rita Dove was talking about, how she kind of censors herself when she tries to write about her childhood, because there are certain things that, you know, white people wouldn't necessarily be able to relate to. And it's our inability, or not, rather, what is our decision to allow black people within our media, to not try to support, you know, black-run enterprises within our media and within books and all the things like that. It is very silencing, I think. It is almost taking away the language from these people whose experiences are very valid, just as valid as any white person's experience. It's stopping them from even being able to talk about it, because we've created this audience that is unrealistically white, when that's not the case. There are so many different types of people within the world who buy things and watch things and read things, and they all need to have their space within all of that, and to share that space with other people, so that way they understand where they're coming from too. So it must be kind of heartbreaking, I think, for someone like Rita Dove, who has these really beautiful experiences. Yeah, that was nice. Has these really, I hope nothing was breakable in that, but who has these really, really beautiful experiences, but she can't talk about them, because either she herself feels as though she has to censor them, or she tries to get to the publisher, and the publisher is like, well, I don't really get what you're talking about here, because, you know, my mother used not rolling pins, but like rollers or a straightener or whatever. Like, we don't have the context to relate to that, but the context could be given to us. We could, you know, movies like The Color Purple, or Their Eyes Are Watching God, like these are movies that are necessary, that involve people of color. And they're movies that are going to teach people who don't have those experiences at least a taste of what that kind of life entails. There's absolutely no reason why a white woman's hair should be more ubiquitous in our culture than a black woman's hair. So, I don't know. Hopefully you guys kind of get what I'm talking about here. I just think that the hair thing is just one example of a much bigger issue. And I think that, and I don't want to put words into her mouth, but I think that what Kat Black is feeling when someone asks these really rude questions or invasive questions about her hair is that that person doesn't care enough to learn about it themselves, you know, to research it. And I don't know, like, it's difficult when you're in that moment to have really full thoughts, because you're just reacting to what that person is saying. But maybe on a subconscious level, she realizes, or now it's conscious, but at that moment, subconsciously, maybe she realizes, that that separation there of white and black culture, and how white culture is so ubiquitous in our media, and so of course everyone knows about that, but white or black culture is hardly seen in our media, and so everyone's ignorant of that. Um, if black culture was more ubiquitous in our media, you wouldn't have questions like that because it would be known. Um, so yeah, I mean that's basically all I have to say about this. Um, if you guys have any thoughts, please share them in the comments, and thank you guys for listening to me. Hope you have a great night.